make of that decisive SKT win.
Thank you, Riv. Still undefeated for SKT there, although it looked...
that was the game.
That's the thing. It didn't look good there after those few early plays.
How can you lose faith, Money?
But how dare you, Mozzie? Yeah, but you know, the thing is Jat said it, that was the game to win there for KOO. Things only get more terrifying from this point onward when you see yourself set up, literally set up within the first 2.5 minutes of a game for victory, and then it slips away from you.
Yeah, I mean, we kept talking about KOO's punish game and how they're waiting for all these mistakes to happen, and then they punish you so hard, and they're able to... The mistakes came too early in the game, maybe, and then they didn't know what to quite do with an early lead, because it looked like while, yes, Marin and Bengi were making a lot of early errors, and they were, you know, sort of tilting themselves, Smeb also then, he kind of took that and went too aggressive. They were overreaching in a lot of places, and SKT slowly built their lead back up from these small skirmishes across the map.
Yeah, zeroing in on those first two instances in which KOO got their lead. Crepo, I'm coming to you, because the team comps, the way that they were set up, we would have looked at SKTs and said, well, this is a KOO comp. You know, we're gonna just stall out the game and wait for it. And KOO's comp is one that is looking to snowball, set up that split push as Kobe mentioned. So those early kills that we got in those first two plays with the missteps from SKT, you would have thought, well, is KOO gonna be able to have the tools to do what SKT would have done with that lead? Yeah,
they just changed the entire dynamic of the early game, and the way that happened there, exactly this phase right here, where just greed from SKT going way too deep here for that initial dive, that put them behind so much, and then the game kind of turned around, so SKT was kind of playing a KOO style. Now they were playing from behind, they were the ones baiting the dives, trying to punish the dives, and you would think a team that is so good at the whole anti-dive game like KOO Tigers would actually prevent that later on, and this entire phase here where you see Marin flashing for the kill, it just, that never works out. Even if you like get that, it's just too greedy.
Yeah, it's incredibly high risk, and the dives just keep coming. They punish the flashless state of Marin over and over and over again. Just try and put him as much pressure on as possible, and then Bengi decides to show up.
How did I get here?
For some reason.
And a new challenger approaches.
Bengi really wants his repeat world championship too.
Yeah, they do. He picks up the one kill. Gorilla, unfortunately, taking the aggro.
Once he was under the tower, he did play that well. Like he knew they were about to launch another auto attack, so he wanted to give them tower aggro with a double knockup. Like trying to get out of these sticky situations, they did do their best, but just don't get in those situations. That's the one thing. Like why get there? You know, such a smart team. But later on, SKT, they did pick up the pace, and they showed some fantastic macro play overall.
Absolutely.
This is why we just point out there's so many threats on SKT. Even if, you know, jungler and top laner, the two biggest playmakers on your team, are having a terrible early game, there's still Faker and Bang there to carry you.
Now, before we get into those plays in which SKT was able to claw their lead back, I do want to dissect the reason why KOO wasn't able to press their advantage as hard as they could. We saw till very late in the game, no dragons taken, and then the first one was taken by SKT. With KOO, with what KOO had at their disposal, you would have expected them to set up around that objective.
I mean, it is a little hard because you're going up against Jarvan Rumble, which has one of the best ult combos in the game, so it can be still very dangerous to fight in the mid game, even if you're ahead around an objective like Dragon, as opposed to just split pushing. We're going to see that replay right here. I mean, they just turn Hojin, Whimsium right at the beginning.
Yeah, but this is what I love so much about watching SKT play. Any other team here, they work in 30-second intervals. They look at plays and they say, what can we get in the next 30 seconds? SKT, they plan a minute or a minute and a half ahead, because as we see right here, many teams would go 5-man mid to try and not lose their tier 2. SKT, they know they can defend 4-man, banks all the way in the bottom, but then usually teams will yield this red pressure and they still go for the fight here. They know Smeb doesn't have flash from earlier, so they even force here the combo to make him stand on the ultimate from Rumble here. So really good plays by SKT, and meanwhile in the bot lane, Bang is still pushing.
Yeah, and if you keep up that macro pressure, it's obviously huge. Smeb did a good job of riposting at the beginning of that fight, the knockup from Bengi, but with the ultimate following right after, there still wasn't that much to be done. And they really did punish when they saw them going into the top side, and Bang's just sitting here free shooting at a turret.
And that is one of their strengths. SKT, when they're down a member in a team fight or down a member on a map play, they will not yield the area, not the pressure. They will keep fighting it. They can win 4v5s if they have the preferential engage. And right there, they noticed that, well, we can slow them down enough for Bang to, worst case, take 2 towers in the bot lane for free. And that was such a smart call, because in the heat of the moment to make that call, there's so many teams that will just go 5 mid and just panic.
But they know that that's a power spike, right, that they have. going into that particular phase of the game, especially in a choke against a Fiora like that. So it's not only knowing when, like, or how to take these fights, it's when to take these fights, even if they're behind. They say, okay, we still have higher power in this situation, and the speed at which they can dissect that and know that is incredible.
Yeah, KOO on your screen there probably discussing some of the communication failures that they had as a team, and I want to point towards that Dragon Dance that we saw, Kobe, because again, they had shown the pushing power, split pushing power of Fiora. They finally got her into a side lane against a TP-less Marin, and yet they chose to start a fight.
Not only did they have the split pushing Fiora that got a lead in the early game, they also had a support Shen who has global. They also had a jungle Rek'Sai who has a global, another role that you don't usually have a global from. So they had all of these tools to try and push an early lead and do the style that SKT usually use, where they pressure multiple points on the map at the same time and then pick you off, but they were unable to accomplish it. We also saw that in the Baron baits when they had that teleport discrepancy you talk about with Marin. They had teleport advantage. They spent so long trying with the Baron bait over and over, trying to work with the true side. And they finally pulled the trigger by actually teleporting him into the Baron and losing it. That was just complete disaster. So this team really, they need to completely restart after this game, because they've got to be a bit dejected after that, and they just need to look at it as a fresh start.
I mean, the most disappointing thing about that Baron Dance was they had executed it so well for a few minutes in a row, and then they just decide to commit to it instead of continuing to put that inhibitor pressure down or waiting for SKT, because they definitely were dictating the tempo at that specific point in time.
All right, well, with that win, SKT are just one win away from an undefeated world run and the Summoners Cup, so don't go anywhere. We'll see if KOO can come back in Game 3 in just a few minutes.
Berlin at the World Championship Finals.
Oh, level 1 turret dive! Bengi definitely messed that up! Nice. Quite quickly. Here's Hogan. The kill though. He makes it. Grand challenge is down, so this is all about Smev's abilities. Gorilla goes in the middle of the fight with a nice flash and call. Gorilla goes down. Here comes Kuro. Throws down the Chaos Storm. It's all over Wolf though.
Faker just completely turned this game.
That's the in from Wolf. Stops up 3 members. Slicing Maelstrom goes down, but it's not really hitting anybody or stunning the targets it needs. Now it's a double kill for Bengi. They're not stopping. Bang jumps over the wall for another kill, and it looks like it's going to be an ace in the base. SK Telecom T1 are 1 win away from being your 2-time world champions.